it seems that the guys that are really striving for more have the smallest circle instead of this, I have 100,000 friends and da 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 da. But the guys that you really talk to that have been through battles, been through war, been successful, or at least continuing to try to get to that next step, you always ask them, how many guys you have around there? And there's maybe 3, 4, 5, sometimes 2. How did you, anyone can answer, this is an open-end question. How did you guys get to that point? How many times did you have to get burned to realize I don't need a big circle anymore, but I need some core guys, or it could be for women too. Yeah, the core women that you're going to walk through fire together and, the 811 call, right? Like, hey, grab a shovel. We're going. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. If this is your first time here, I am Blair Armstrong, and I am one of the hosts of this great podcast called OGSR, or better known as Old Guys Still Rock. We are growing and growing and growing. I'll make a couple of announcements here in a little bit. But again, I'm Blair Armstrong of Team Armstrong Coldwell Banker. I am located in the beautiful Coachella Valley. I'm a global luxury specialist in the world of residential real estate. Again, if you don't know where Coachella Valley is, if you know where Palm Desert, if you know where Palm Springs, California, Indio, California, Rancho Mirage, California, and everything in between, that is Coachella Valley. If you don't know where any of those are, get a freaking map and you'll find out on that. In the middle, as of right now, I have a feeling that I'm going to be in the middle actually when this gets edited. But the middle right now is my good friend and co-host of the show, Brent Wright of Brent Wright Incorporated. Brent and I have been friends for almost 30 freaking years. I can't believe it. Thank you for keeping me around for that long. Brent Wright Incorporated. He's located in beautiful Eugene, Oregon. Man with many, many different hats, from buying properties to renting properties to wellness centers to detail shops to body shops to payroll companies. If you watched the other 105 episodes, you know that over the last year or so, he's been getting into personal coaching and business coaching. Strongly suggest if you're stuck somewhere or struggling and you need to help to get to that next level. Again, as I said, we have 105 other episodes. You can check out this guy, figure out if he's a good fit or not a good fit for you. But I guarantee there's probably a golden nugget he can give you to kind of help you get through or break through that maybe glass ceiling that you feel that you have. And then most importantly, I'm going to cut through all of us. We have a long time listener, first time caller. He's been asking to come on here for a while, but he's a busy freaking man. Kyle, what's up, my dude? How are you? Why don't you give us a little background of who you are, what you do, where you are today? Tell us about the weather, because that's what we old guys do, is talk about the weather.
I'm doing great. I'm officially an old guy now. I turned 40 last week, so I got on the show as soon as I could check the box.
He got his ARP envelope in the mail.
Yeah. Now that I'm officially old, I'm allowed to talk about the weather. It's usually sitting around low mid 80s right here. And as a profession, we're primarily concrete contractors. I'd say the bulk of it's in the commercial sector, and then we recently, a couple of years ago, established a residential division to better service that market. And so we're tugging there quite a bit. I've also playing in Brent's new e-commerce scene. I'm a part of that. And then play some investments and property, that stuff, but primarily concrete. And as far as weather in our world, it's getting too hot. It's making the mud go too fast. So we like it nice and cloudy and overcast.
What part of the world are you in, man?
I'm Washington State. We localize around the Olympia area.
All right. Yeah. That Pacific Northwest, baby. Yeah, I'm glad that you're having hot weather. We're going to have a nice, cool 110 today. Super excited about that. This is when I lose all my winter weight. But welcome to the show, brother. I know you've been a big, big supporter of us. Obviously, you and Brent, I think, met in Arte, if I am correct on that. And now you started out a new venture that we talked about last week's BrokenTees.com.
Busted Tees.
See, I'm learning. Busted Tees.
Yeah,
Well, it's busted right now. We're about ready to be up and going.
Yeah, so getting out there is both of you guys. So I know last week Brent talked about that there was a special early entrance discount. Is that still in effect? You want to say, one of you guys want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah. So we're definitely still honoring that. We are, in fact, I just posted on our Slack channel that I just signed the docs. We're waiting for one more signature, and hopefully we'll have the ability to take payments. Yay.
Hey. So what happens right now if they go to the website and they put in some orders, but you guys are not ready to fulfill those? What are they getting right now?
Kyle, you probably know this better.
Yeah, when they're got items sitting in their cart, basically once we can start processing, anybody that has any outstanding items in a cart is going to get a 25% discount code emailed to them to kind of bear with us through this transition into the ownership and being understanding of the hiccups, and then also kind of ideally coming on as a loyal supporter to some new owners that desire to give some good customer service and listen to their feedback and see where we can take it.
Which I'm so glad for. So guys, you ready? So we have three business guys here. Obviously, I'm in the real estate world. Brent is got 8,000 different hats, but he's specialized in all of them over 30 years of trying to get this stuff. Kyle, very successful in the cement world. So last week we talked about who are you really aligning yourself with, and it's going to tie into this week. So are you guys ready? Because strap in. We're going to give you some good stuff today. A lot better stuff than you're seeing on the major news channels. A lot better stuff that you're seeing on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever social media you find. This is going to be, it may not be all the way positive, but bottom line is we're going to give you stuff to help you succeed. So here we go. Get your popcorn ready. Get strapped in, whatever you're going to do. If you're walking on the treadmill, you're locked into us for at least another 45 minutes. We might go a little Joe Rogan on you because there's so much good information today. So here we go. So man, a lot of stuff going on in this world, a lot of knee-jerk reactions. And Kyle, when we kind of talked a little bit a couple days ago via text through Brent, you and I, we were talking about this world. It's like we worry so much about 80%, or we concentrate on this 80% of stuff, which a lot of times is a bunch of baloney. I almost had the first swear word, but I stopped on that. But a lot of stuff. And then you brought up a really good point is we spend so much time on this garbage. And I really want you to carry on this, Kyle, but really stop doing that and have a paradigm shift, and then really move into concentrating on the 20% that's right in front of you and focus on that. Where did you come up with that? How long have you been using that to help you get through your business? There's a couple of questions, but I'm going to have you start there so we can kind of work forward.
A lot of what I kind of do is I have quite a big team of leaders we do. And so I communicate with them a lot of what's helping me internally and what I feel can help them. And then obviously it kind of changes as you go through that journey. And the struggle that I've been kind of coming across is, you get your morning routine figured out, you get this figured out, and then here's somebody else coming in that here's this magical item you got to do, or if you're not doing this or you're not doing that. And so I found it tend to kind of pull me off the path a little bit versus what was working for me. And it starts, I don't know, going down a little bit too deep into the dark side of discipline to where there's a point where it could be working counteractive to you. Like in the sense of my biggest morning routine is I like a hard workout, and I started stacking in some meditation and breathing and other things. And I just found, me personally, it's pulling from my workout, and to where it doesn't work for me as much. I'd rather have that extra time in a workout. And so when I start getting all these other viewpoints come up, do I need to do this magic trick and this magic trick? Do I need to get up even earlier? It starts working counterproductive, and to where it's like, you're spending 2 hours in the gym. Well, you have an extra half hour in the day. Should you necessarily put that into the gym, or should you put it into your family? Like, are you putting 80% of that leftover effort into something you're only getting a 20% gain, or can you put 20% more effort here and gain 80%? And so it just gets to be a slippery slope anymore with how much information is out there and how many people are trying to sell the next magic thing you can add into your life, And it just put the mental struggle. And the biggest check I found is, you need to figure out what your personal standards are, not somebody else's, and then build around that.
Yeah. So, when I hear that, it reminds me of an episode we talked a little bit ago. It's like we're constantly chasing that next thing, right? And I think which we're on. And Brent, I'm going to have you fill into this real quick. But we're constantly chasing, like, okay, here, do this. I got to do this. Okay, I got to add this. I got to get this. And all of a sudden, we're chasing this word balance, right? We talked about this a couple episodes ago. We tried chasing this word balance, and there's never that balance. So, Brent, I'm going to let you talk about this, because I have another question after this, because it's going down a different path. So go ahead, Brent. So when you hear him say that, like, okay, I was working out, then I want to do some meditation, then I want to do some reading, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, wait, my missing link is my family.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really more important than spending another 15, 16, 17%, 20%, 40% chasing these other rabbit holes that somebody told me that was better for me.
So a couple things on that. I have been privileged to spend a few mornings with Kyle and go through his morning routine. And it is a nice routine. It is awesome. It was very rewarding. And like I said, I felt very privileged to be part of it. And I look forward to the next time too, by the way. Our schedules, man, we both have too many inputs. We can't get them aligned. Ultimately for me, and by the way, you mentioned that the last year or so. So the last year or so, I've just kind of made it public that I do coaching. Prior to that, I've been doing coaching for about 5 years. Mm-hmm. And I talk about it in my coaching, and I've talked about it at length with Kyle. Kyle and I do kind of a therapy morning, like you and I used to do in the evenings. We talk to each other for about 12 to 13 minutes in the morning when we're both driving to the office, typically. But him and I have talked about this at length. And we did an episode on it on cheat codes. Mm-hmm. The cheat codes are cool to know, but in my mind, just like Kyle said, you have to attempt to apply them, see if they fit for you. And no different than hiring employees, it should be slow to hire, quick to fire, right? So slow to implement those cheat codes, and then quick to get rid of them if they're not working for you. If you feel, you have to use your best sense of self. If you feel like day 3 that it's not working, get rid of it quick. And then evaluate if it worked or if it didn't work. I do the IMs in the morning, and I do that. I used to do that and take time to do that. Now I'm doing that in the shower. So I'm making my 4-minute shower like super efficient, right? Head to toe, IMs, clean the shower, get out kind of thing. So, but yeah, you have to evaluate for you. And in my coaching, that's the one thing that I do differently is I do personalized coaching. I ask the questions. Is it working for you? Is it something that you're applying? What do we need to adjust in the coaching to get you to the next level? What do you think that you need to do? Why is it that eating protein doesn't feel good to you? There's all the things, but me being on carnivore has been hugely beneficial for me, but some people might not process protein exponentially well.
Right.
And they might, they might feel worse on it. The amount of peptides and the things that I take might not work for somebody. The amount of supplements that I take might not work for somebody. All of those things, you have to evaluate each individual piece sooner than later and not just keep doing it because XYZ coach, this, that, the next thing. I mean, it could be detrimental to you health-wise too.
And to add to that, I think that's a big thing. And I think it goes to a lot of sectors in life is to also understand if this guy is saying this is his magic thing. Once I started doing this, my life took off. Well, it doesn't mean just because when you start doing it, your life's going to take off. You're different. It doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean there's something wrong from you. We're just all wired different. What makes me tick not going to be the same thing what makes another person tick. And so when so many people out there are putting these one size shoe fits all, whether it's how to be a leader, how to do your wellness, how to, go about life, like it doesn't work that way, in finances and everything. Like you've got to figure out what works for you, set those standards tight, and don't let people veer you too far away.
Yeah, boy, man, you guys got to rewind probably the last 6-7 minutes of that, both from Kyle and Brent. Some great things what he said it too. And both of them said this in different words, which I really, really love. Is like, okay, I'm trying to find these different things to help me get better. But once I figure out that this is not for me, then I'm not keeping them to where it's overpowering me and I'm banging my head against the wall and I'm going to try to force this even regardless if it's for me or not. They are figuring out right away. And that's why both of these guys are super successful in business. They're figuring over of a process. It could be a 3-day process. It could be a 3-month process. It could be a 3-week process, whatever that process is for them. Again, we are not a one-size-fits-all podcast. So this is stuff that hopefully you guys can implement into your relationships, into your business. But once they kind of figure out on their time clock of what they're saying, and Brent's clock is different from Kyle's clock, different from my clock, then they figure out, nope, this is no longer a part of my regimen anymore. I tried that. It didn't work out the way that this person, or I thought it was going to work out. I'm moving on to the next thing. So Kyle, I'm coming back to you now and asking you, like, first of all, share with us how many employees that you have in your company.
And currently right now we're sitting right around 50. Last year was a little flat for us. Our sweet spot's around 60, 65. So we're in a little bit of hiring phase and a gear up phase. We've got a lot of good momentum in our court right now.
Well, that's good. So you have a lot of moving pieces, not only with business, but with personalities. Going back to this, this one size fits all is you may have a standard operating procedure, but you may have a process that may not work with some of your guys. How are you getting over that hurdle when, okay, it's working with 60% of them, but 25%, 40% of them, I'm having a hard time getting this implemented. How are you working through that? Are you delegating with the other guys to help them through that process?
I'd say our biggest layer of success there is tiering the leadership of, one person can only touch so many in a day. And, if you want to grow with addition, gain followers. If you want to grow with multiplication, gain leaders. And so it's working with these guys and making sure, we recently did changing our meeting structure around and just bringing the top tier in. And a lot of our meeting was just these guys opening up on their internal struggles, what messes with their head, to kind of fall back to your guys' last podcast is for all of us to get aligned. Mm-hmm. And if they're aligned in their actions, their thoughts, and in their words, well, they're moving with confidence then, and people take that from them. But everybody, every individual has a unique gift. And our goal right now is to try to pull that out of everybody. And then also to learn how, like you said, different people tick. Like this one guy is going to be motivated by praise. This guy is going to be motivated if he's the hero of the day. This guy, he just wants money.
Right.
And so you've got to learn to recognize what's motivating people and what doesn't motivate them. It might be acts of kindness. And then you tug on that thread, and it's an endless battle. It's an endless struggle because we're all different personalities. We're all different people. I mean, we work with concrete. Nobody sticks around and plays with concrete very long unless, well, they're pretty hard themselves. They're usually pretty rough around the edges.
Right.
So it takes a little bit of time to break into those guys. I was just calling out one of my guys this morning of how much he tests me and my willingness to put myself out there. I was like, you'll let me give you a 3-page compliment spiel and go, and I'll get a head nod or an okay. And I was like, but now you're starting to give me more. So I just realized the more I throw myself and expose myself, the more you're subtly going to take more and do it yourself. So you've got to be willing to give what you want from your employees, and you got to be willing to give it for a long time. Like if you haven't been pushing the community and culture, you're probably going to be talking to the wall for the first year thinking nobody's correct. Then you're going to get a couple of trickle in, and then you're going to do it another year, and you're going to be wondering why I'm doing this. And then you're going to start getting the stories and the texts of how you're helping them change their life. And I'm getting it from guys that won't even acknowledge you, but then you go home And we have quite a few dynamics where the father and the son works, and the father will text me, man, what you said to my boy yesterday has him so happy. He was a difficult kid. He's becoming better at home and better everywhere. And then that's when the true magic happens, because you start realizing those texts, those compliments, those changes you're putting into your employees, that's making you feel better than your paycheck is anyways. And so once you start chasing that over the money, you're happier at work, your guys are happier, they're not running to the next ship where they think the grass is greener, and magically the money's in there too.
That's awesome. So Brent, when you hear that, I mean, you've been working with Kyle back and forth a lot of that. There are so many good things in there. Yes, we're talking about business, but how that spills into really relationships at the end of the day is what this is about. So when you hear him, how he's not getting a lot of accolades for giving accolades, but then you go back and the ripple effect is stuff that we've talked about this a lot. The things that we do, most likely we'll never see. And what Kyle just said is that, right? It's like he's doing things that he's never going to really feel the full impact personally.
Yeah.
But his ripple effect is massive. So when you hear that, are there things that, even though you are a successful business person, that you can kind of maybe his words hit a different way, and now you can implement not only to your wellness centers, but maybe your body shops and whatever business that you're getting into?
So, couple of things on that. Kyle is very articulate. He's very intellectual. He doesn't give himself enough credit for the ability to speak eloquently and to give good results. So he and I talked last Tuesday, I believe, about this. We both are struggling with some employees who don't want to listen to us, don't want to follow core values, don't want to do all the things. They leave us.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a time, they call us and say things like, I think in his court or my court, either one is, I think I really screwed up. I want to come back. I really didn't understand what you were trying to tell me. And now I do, now that I've seen that the grass isn't greener, and things like that. And so not only are we not looking for the accolades, but we're hoping that even if we don't get those interactions, that they are still seeing the fruits of those actions that we took for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a big game changer. You know, it's an age-old saying, a wise man plants a tree he may never sit under the shade of, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're doing with employees. But to your point, the reason why that I love interacting with people of all age groups,
Mm-hmm.
of all genres, and all blue collar, white collar, pink collar, don't really care the color, ultimately is because the experiences that Kyle has, or that you have, or that I have, again, may not fit with the way that we're trying to speak to a particular segment of the population. But he can give me insight. You can give me insight.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I want to know where all the people are at 4:30 in the evening having dinner, I can call you,
Mm-hmm.
right? If
Yeah,
since you are an old guy that
it's a blue light special, baby. down at Red Lobster having steak and shake, bitches.
Yeah. But my point to that is that there are a number of folks that I interact with from all age groups that have taught me so many things. And that's what Kyle and I have actually talked about a lot lately, is me trying to figure out how to translate, if you will, the things that I'm being told by other age groups, because what I say might offend them. What they say might offend me, or we just don't understand each other. And so I'm really trying to make an effort to become more fluid in the way that I'm communicating with different age groups and different genres.
So again, great words by Kyle and Brent, and just loving this right now so much. So if to dissect this and put a little bit of a microscope on what they just said, they're building relationships not for today, they're building eternal relationships for past their lifetime. And that's really what they're getting into. Now, if you ask any of them, and that's why we have, again, another reason why we have this podcast is to have a platform for you to share your successes and your failures. But if you ask them, there were a lot of failures to get to that point to figure out, okay, I could be better communicator this way, or the way that I approached it was the wrong way in this way, but I did well on this side. So there's a lot of things. So again, I'm going to stop for like 2 seconds. If you guys have really listened to us for the last about 20 minutes of theirs, there is so much good stuff that not only portrays to your business, but to your relationships. Maybe you're not an entrepreneur. Maybe you're an entrepreneur where you're in the office, but now you're trying to figure a different way to work together instead of like, oh, this person is failing on this part, this person's failing on that part. Eventually that comes from your leader, your boss, whatever. But you also have an integral part if you are a key person in your relationship or your workplace. You can have leadership roles, but you're going to have to learn from guys like me, from Brent, from Kyle, Joe Daniels, Ken McCumbers, everyone that's been on the show. There's different types of leadership that if you really listen to them, you can become an integral part to not only help the business that you're in now, but the business that you may become a part of in the future. So that's what I really love about these guys is that their investment of not staying status quo or this worked for me 5 years ago, so I'm going to keep doing this. It's a constant involvement. And again, not concentrated on all of this mess, which Kyle talked about at the very beginning. All of this stuff that comes out to you. Here's a quick fix. Here's a best Band-Aid. Here's this. Buy this on Romco for $19.95. And you get, if you act now, we're going to give you something else. It's not that. It is a cultivation that never, ever stops. And you're constantly planting seeds, constantly cultivating, constantly planting seeds, constantly cultivating. And that's why if I were watching this podcast right now, I'd be calling these two guys because they have, even though that they work together, there's two ends of the spectrum of how they've got to where they've got to. And there's a lot of onion to peel back from this. And that's why I get excited about this podcast. When we get these guys, the Kyles and the Joe Daniels and the McCumbers and the Gigi Matacos and the Ednas and the Caitlins. And obviously we have Brent every week, which is, a blessing in itself. Finally, we can have something that is like boots on the ground, people that are willing to help you get better instead of like, oh, I'm stuck here. I guess this is who I'm going to become. So Kyle, I mean, the big thing, you said something too, which is really hard. And I think in that trade world that you are in, which is, becoming more and more appetizing for people to become better. And Brent, you're kind of in that trade world as well. My son's in the trade world of being an electrician. But Kyle, you being in that trade world is like guys getting a concrete, think it's going to be something else. How many years has it taken you to like kind of find, okay, I know that I'm not done growing, but I'm kind of in a sweet spot that I understand a lot. And I can really, instead of having massive turnover, maybe my turnover has become a lot less over whatever time that is.
And that was one of the walls that we kept hitting is, training leaders and losing them and training them and then losing some and, having to replace. And I think we've done a pretty good job of stopping that bleeding. And, it comes through the realization if you want your guys to continually grow, you have to continually grow. If you want them to be good leaders, you got to be a better leader. A level 9 leader isn't going to work for a level 7 leader. And to me, the biggest life hack is just making sure your actions are following your words. If you're saying one thing and doing another, they're not going to do it. They're not going to follow the cord. If you're in a leader and you're always wondering why all my guys, well, you're the common denominator. So it's probably something to do with you. And
yeah.
I just recently had a guy call back and he started back to work yesterday and he had left about a year ago. And it was a hard one for me. It really messed with my head. It made me self-reflect a lot because he was a kid that fit our community, fit our culture, smile, happy. And it was out of the, woods as far as I was concerned when he put in his 2 weeks and he was going to one of our main competitors that likes to play a little dirty and we don't get down there and play that game, but they do. Mm-hmm. And he went there. And then about 2 months later, they got 2 more guys that were in about the same boat. And so he called back and regretted it and it wasn't better. And, definitely things I like hearing, but I told him too, I was like, you leaving, I had to self-reflect of where our holes were that allowed that, why I didn't see it, not, what's wrong with you. It's what was wrong with me. And it allowed us to get better. It allowed us to get out of complacency. And now I'd say every week we're probably getting 1 or 2 guys that wants to come back. And we're also getting guys that are not going. We haven't had someone quit in probably over a year. And so it's making a big change in our culture out there, how hard the guys are working, how hard they're driving, how much they care. And it's giving us a lot of momentum. And I think one of the things that's really helped us is to kind of break the stigma of the industry of everybody concrete, rough, hard, and tough. Well, we're starting to, we put a lot of admixtures in concrete, and our secret admixture that we're starting to throw a lot more in is love. Half the guys get done with phone conversation, love you, bro, hugs, giving that, appreciation, that pat on the back. And these rough tugged guys, once they start getting comfortable, boy, they start opening up a lot more and pushing them on that acts of kindness. And one of the things I like most about acts of kindness is you can't do it for somebody or compliment them expecting them to return it. Because at that point in time, you were trying to trade. You are not doing something out of an act of kindness, but you can plan on the universe rewarding you somewhere. Like, you don't know, you might have to give 20 guys in this room a compliment. Not one of them is going to say a nice thing, but later on that day, it might come back over here in a different scene. And so the further you can embrace that, the less you feel like I'm just doing all this nice stuff and I always get burned, or I help my guys and I get burned. It's the wrong approach and the wrong mindset. You just got to be throwing it out there.
So question to both of you guys real quick, because I think that you both said something. You have guys that come and work with you for a little bit and they think the grass is greener on the other side. And maybe they, again, you have those competitors that play dirty and give you the smoke and mirrors, like it's going to be really great on this side. Okay. But anyway, get rid of that part. They come back, they're asking to come back to you. I want to clarify something, see if you guys do this, because it just popped in my head. Do you guys, when you're sitting there, okay, you want to come back, do you ask them, and Kyle, I think you led to this, maybe I heard it wrong. Do you ask them, hey, what did I do wrong to make you leave in the first place? Or is it just different conversation? And this is to both of you. So whoever wants to go first, go for it. But I think that's the biggest question. If guys come back to you, do you ask them, what did I do wrong in the first place to make you leave? And how can I be better?
I usually ask them that when they leave. And so
Okay.
I try to, especially if it's something I value, it's like, I don't beat them up. It's, I understand what's best for you is best for you. And I ultimately, if I'm a good boss, I need to be valuing you as a human over an employee. So if this move's going to be better for you, great. But give me any feedback you can and where we can become a better home. When they want to come back, I personally don't bring any of it up. This last guy that came back wanted to go and tell me why and how he made mistakes. And I kind of just pivoted the conversation to more, hey, dude, we're just excited to have you back. All I ask of you this time is if you're not happy with us, the same way, if you're not doing your job right, you want me to give you guidance, do the same for me. I'm not perfect either. If you see a hole in the ship, help us be better. But I really I never try to make them feel like they have to grovel back or earn their way back. It's more of, I want them to feel accepted on day one and they came back to big, wide open arms.
That's awesome.
Now, if they left violating our core values, usually they'll get red flagged and we won't let them back.
Yeah. I mean, there's different things, but go ahead, Brent.
So one of my successes over the last, probably 2 to 3 weeks has been several interactions with employees holding other employees accountable to not taking advantage of me. That was a game changer. That is when I knew, like, one little nugget of success was, Brent's going to help you. He's going to help you with your car issue, your life issue, your rental, whatever the deal is. But what I want to tell you is Brent gets taken advantage of a lot, and I don't want you to take advantage of him. One employee to another. When you overhear that, that is the game changer for me. That means that I'm on the right track, that I'm doing some of the things that, that really have helped to move the needle in people's lives. So that way they can see that I'm doing the work internally, I'm doing the work externally, and it is making a difference. And they're holding each other to core values. I don't have to any longer. That's been huge. One of the biggest, what's that?
You don't get to ask your guys to do that is the kicker. You have to instill them to want to do that. That's
Right.
on their own accord. That's the challenge.
Yeah. And that is that shade that you'll never get to sit under. One of the biggest payouts for me has been from a coaching perspective, from a personal perspective, from a friendship perspective, is seeing the amount of growth that I've seen in Kyle in the last year and a half has been exponential. And I'm not just trying to float his boat because he's on here. He called me a year and a half ago and he's like torn. His wife wanted to have another baby. He still hadn't finished his house. He was struggling with 18-hour days. He was struggling with some of his employees leaving him. He had lost some contracts. He'd all the things. It was like the world just kind of took a crap on Kyle's shoulders. And over the last year and a half, he's really buckled in. He's got a new baby, beautiful little girl. And his house is finished and he's getting new contracts and he's taking a lot of personal growth. And one of the biggest things I think is a conversation that we had at the same time that we talked about you possibly wanting to have another baby, or at least allowing your wife to have another one, was you said, what is the one thing that has been a game changer for you in your success? And I said, consistency. Do whatever you're going to do in your personal life consistently, no matter what it is. And I didn't tell him, go do these 9 things consistently. It was whatever you're going to do, just do it consistently and then evaluate and make changes and adjust, but do it consistently for a time until you get into this routine. Consistency is the only thing that even makes sense. So hopefully that's a little insight for Kyle and I's relationship. So
could that go back to Brent and maybe answer this, and Kyle, see maybe agree or disagree with this with your own words, but could that go back to Kyle's 80-20 rule? Is like, okay, I'm going through all this stuff and I've got 100 things going on. I'm going to write these down. I'm just using this out to you. I'm spitballing on this one, obviously. I'm going to write these 100 things down. I'm using that for a visual, but these are the 20 things that matter the most to me. Is that where you helped him go with that, Brent? Or was that just, hey, I'm giving you a couple nuggets and then you take it from there and roll with it? And Kyle, you answer the same thing. Did you evaluate? Because you more than likely, just because of business that we're in, all of us, there's going to be another valley and I wouldn't say complete darkness, but maybe a lot of shade, and you trying to work through that to the next part. So when you were going through that and you called Brent a year and a half ago and you're talking to them stuff, what were the changes that you made at that time? Did you circle the wagons and come in and is that how you came up with the 80-20 rule in your head? Or did you just kind of like come up with it on your own?
You know, that's been a long struggle in my head. A lot of it, like I have a problem with trying to measure everything on a return on investment. And, you know, to a point I like it and to a point it's detrimental. Where it, you know, when you hit a certain level of success in life, you worry about losing what you've gotten to hold on to. So you stop making the actions and you start getting a little bit of scarcity mindset, or am I going to make this decision wrong? And is it going to move my family and career backwards? Or, you know, should I embrace this leisure time or keep moving the needle over here? And so that was always my struggle of creating worries and fears in my head that are probably never going to come through tuition. And the magic sauce, I don't know. To me, it's confidence of knowing you can lose everything in your bank account, but you still have the skills to get it back is what you need to rely on. And that's why it's so critical that you get those scars, you get those licks, you go through those fires, you touch those stoves so you can learn those lessons. People that are just handed money, well, if they lose it, they're screwed. They don't know how to get it back. Now, if you've gone through the hoops and you've gotten there, you can get back again. You might not want to, but you can. And so I think that was my big key of just embracing that and taking the mindset I had when, you know, it is back against the wall and going of, let's do or die, you know, concept, just, you got to burn the boat sometimes and stop worrying.
Kyle, one more question on that too is, How many guys like Brent do you have in your world to help you through those valleys, to help you start climbing the mountain again?
I've got probably, 3, 4 of them outside of Brent.
Okay.
I'm a small circle guy. I think there's power there. And I think it's also huge because it's like my wife would get irritated at me at times, how come my advice? It's like, well, honey, there's certain areas to where, yeah, I highly value your opinion, but sometimes in the business world, it needs to be from people that have taken the same licks, the same hits. They know that roller coaster of your mind with what employees can run you through, what hard times can run you through, and how to pull yourself out of that rut. And so those people are clutch, and I'm fortunate enough to where my business partner is my brother, and we've always had a great relationship dynamic, a good divide of he handles the money in the office, I handle the field and the guys. And to where I think there's power in partnerships in that sense, to where they keep you accountable. And it's also easier going to war with someone right on the right and whatever side they sit on, but right there knowing that they're not going to run no matter how hard it gets. If you're in that foxhole, they're going to stay with you till time's over.
Brent, I feel like you and I have talked about this a lot, and Kyle, you can feel free to jump in on this anytime, but you just said something which relates a lot to me, which relates a lot to Brent. It seems that the guys that are really striving for more have the smallest circle instead of this, I have 100,000 friends and da 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 da. But the guys that you really talk to that have been through battles, been through war, been successful, or at least continuing to try to get to that next step, you always ask them, how many guys you have around there? And there's maybe 3, 4, 5, sometimes 2. How did you, and anyone can answer, this is an open-ended question. How did you guys get to that point? How many times did you have to get burned to realize I don't need a big circle anymore, but I need some core guys, or it could be for women too. Yeah, the core women that you're going to walk through fire together, and the 811 call, right? Like, hey, grab a shovel, we're going, and not answer question. So, Brent, I'll start with you to make it easy. So, how long did it take you to get to that part? And then when Brent's done, Kyle, go ahead and answer that question. You're on mute, buddy.
There we go. Sorry about that.
There we go. That's all right.
I had to turn it off. I was coughing. So yeah, technical old guys, right?
Yeah,
so, right. So I'm still in that path. I still put it out there every day. I still get burned on a regular basis. And I don't want to say burned in a negative way. They're all learning experiences. They're all learning processes. When I say burned, I mean, it's more of I will help people to my detriment, but I will only do it 3 times. And then I stop. That's my personal rule. I will help you 3 times. If you one, don't take the advice, and it hurts me. Okay. So I'm not real big on, if you don't take the advice, I'm going to write you off. I'm real big on, if you don't take the advice and it hurts me financially, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, then we're done. Beyond that, I keep hanging it out there every day because I see the good in folks, and I want to see people succeed. And even if they don't, I might actually want them to succeed more than they do most times. But yeah, my circle's super small. I don't see a lot of value in people that aren't hard hitting and aren't aggressive at trying to grow and prosper for themselves and others. There's a key there. They have to do it not only for themselves, but for others. If you're only doing it for yourself, we ain't going to be cool for long. If you're only doing it for others and you won't take care of yourself, we're not going to be cool for long because you're not going to survive. I want people around me that want to thrive and will go to lengths to try and thrive.
Kyle, any words on that?
Yeah, I'd say my circle got small, I'd say just pretty naturally over time. It just, to me, it kind of tends to happen as you start driving hard. You only have so much left over time. And so, and as you start growing a family, you start putting it there. And then, the guys that are truly the friends, they end up sticking around, especially if, say I used to drink a lot more. Now it's maybe a drink or two a month, and drinking buddies fall off. The other guys fall off.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the guys, you don't have enough time for me anymore. You're too good. They fall off. But the other guys that are hard driving and going that were there, well, they understand, they get it, and they're still around. And, as far as helping people and getting burned, I mean, we've touched that stove 100 times and are going to touch it a couple hundred times more. We help our guys all the time. We got to finance a truck for them, give them some time, paid off time, extra vacay time because of this, or this comes up and that comes up. And I'd say 7 out of 10 times the guys forget about it a month later, quit, leave, do this, do that. And, we continue to do it. And I think the key is just your perspective around it. Like you gotta put it out there knowing that, hey, odds are nothing's going to happen to this. But I'm putting good mojo out, good karma out. And then you also got to know your other employees and the other people around them are watching. So those guys that you aren't helping are seeing you do it. And that's also helping them stay where they're at, because now they feel like they're part of something, or, someone has their back. People are here that care about them and see them as humans. So you might be getting those rewards out of the other guy. So say you loaned out $500, you could have just got an extra couple grand worth of investment and return from all the other guys, but the one guy screwed you. And so it's all a perspective in that game of just, a lot of companies call themselves a family business. And we pride ourselves as truly being it's not just a business ran by a family.
Yeah. I feel like I've gone, Brent and I talked about this too, is a couple of weeks ago, I kind of went through that, and, we are an office of multiple people or multiple professions, and everybody wanted to progress. But when he brought them to the kind of like, okay, here's how we're going to do this, kind of got rolled over, and it was hard. And it took a little bit while to just like, what, at the end of the day, I can only control my actions. And I'm just getting to that point. And this has been almost a month later. I can only control my actions. And if other people are going to say stuff and not implement them, then that's them. Like, here it is. My question to you guys is, if you continue to become successful and the people that say, yeah, I want to do this, but they don't implement what you're talking about, and have you ever found that one day that they come back and said, you know what, you were right. I'm sorry that I missed the boat. I should have went with you. Is there an avenue for them to get back into that circle, or do you just kind of keep them at arm's length and like, yeah, whatever. Okay, cool. Sorry, you missed out.
I'll let them earn their way back in. No problem.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of the future, unless you violated our values, if the light bulb just now clicked on, well, hell yeah, I'm gonna take advantage of that. Let's run, lights on, let's go. I think there's power in that, because we all develop at different stages, and especially in our industry, we get a lot of guys in their young 20s. I mean, the amount that the brain develops from 19 to 30, from what I've heard, is the same from 0 to 18. And so these guys are going through a lot. We got to understand, a lot of guys haven't had strong figures in their life teaching them a lot of things. A lot of our guys will show up and they don't even know how to wash a car. And that's an opportunity as far as I'm concerned, because you have a great opportunity to give a lot of growth to this person in their life that's going to help you, and it's going to help them. And now they're going to associate their growth with you. And now you're more than just an employer to them. You're a mentor. You help do this. And for those people that, like to talk about doing a big game and then their actions don't follow, I just feel bad for them, because I know inside that's eating them alive. I mean, we all know how it is when you tell yourself you're going to do something and you don't do it, you're eating yourself. It's hurting them more than anybody. And so that's where I try to point, is just the direction to find the light and get that light bulb to click. Some guys, it takes 6 months, some it takes 6 years.
Right. Brent, what say you?
There was a lot of good information in there.
Yeah.
Biggest one that I took away is, I'm a big fan of the future. That was a huge little nugget right there. Yeah. I keep, the thing that keeps going ding in my head during this whole conversation is it's that saying, to those that are given much, much is expected. That just keeps resounding, like just going off like a timer in my head during this whole conversation.
Well, and on that too, it's like the whole trust thing. I've become with like circles and bringing them in. I like trusting fast. Might be a little inverse in most people because to me, the best way to get trust is to give trust. And now early on in our relationship, if I'm trusting you with something, I like growing relationships slow still and organically. Now I'm probably on that early stages of a relationship. I'm trusting you with small things. Versus I got this guy now that I've known for 2-3 years and I haven't really trusted him with much, but now I'm opening it up. I'm more likely to trust you with bigger things. There's good odds that we haven't gone through battle. I don't know how you act when your back's against the wall. So now when you mistray that trust, it's going to hurt more. Versus when I do it early on with small items, they're just little learning lessons before it gets to that big thing. So now when that big opportunity comes up, it's like, man, I trusted you all these times. You hit it out of the park. I can give you this.
That's so good. Oh, I love that. So much wisdom, man. And this is like, again, thank you, Jesus, for this podcast, man. I just love this stuff. It's just so good. And, you know, sooner or later, I was been thinking about this, and Brent and I got all excited. We hit 105 episodes last week. And one thing that I can say about this is we have opportunities to go ahead, and everyone's been on the show, is we can go ahead and commercialize this out of the park. But we know that there's also more joy in the grassroots and growing this the right way, getting the right people, learning some lessons. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? And growing instead of just buying our audience. We're going to grow it by giving you great content on a weekly basis that if you really dive in there and strip back exactly what Kyle said, exactly what Brent said over the course of time, is we would love to have more of you on there. I mean, I'm sitting here listening to you guys and all the guys that we had on there and talking about futuristic thinking. I don't know. Let's rip another hole in the universe. Well, maybe we have an old guy still rock retreat one day and we all get together and share great business ideas. I mean, nothing against Arte. I think Arte has done a great job and still continues to do a great job. But there's also opportunity to have a smaller microcosm group that you guys can share stuff. That is how Broken Tees,
busted tees.
Busted tees. I keep going broken. You're broke right now. And get busted later.
That's right.
You're right. Well, it is kind of broken because you can't sell anything right now.
Right.
Whatever. But anyway, that's, you know, you just see how these relationships have grown. And there was you're talking about trust, like, okay, it took you a while to like, okay, now we're going into this venture together. We don't know, we know one guy knows this, one guy knows this, one guy knows this really well. And we got to try to meld this all together. But we've worked and talked to each other enough that there's a little bit of trust to go ahead and carry that through. But it didn't happen overnight. And I know that I was just talking to a podcast a little bit ago, but that is just like life in general, business in general. I'm 5.5 years into full bore real estate. Do I want to be top 3 in the world? Yes, but there's a process. Am I 56 years old? Yes, but should that hold me back? No, I have to go on a different pace, and maybe it takes me a little bit longer. There's a lot of information out there now that it can go ahead and help me grow, but again, is listen to what Kyle says today, listen to what Brent says today, and our friendship over 30 years. It's just this constant involvement. And I just hope that sooner or later, you guys that are watching this, and now that we're spread out on more different channels, from Amazon to Apple Podcasts to Spotify to YouTube, and you know, the list goes on and on and on. I hope that when you guys or girls watch this, you really come in and say, you know what? These are the guys that, or the women, if we have them on the show, these are the people that I want to be surrounding myself with. I want to contribute. I want to be on here. I want to share my successes so we continue to grow this and not be what Kyle said at the very beginning, some quick fix 1995 Romco deal. Is we're in this, we're strapping in together, we're going to go to war together, we're going to have some wins, but we're also going to celebrate the losses. So guys, again, thank you, Jesus, for giving us 106 episodes this time. I'm super excited what the future has too. But Kyle, any final words for you?
I'm sticking my typical tone I've been doing of just embrace acts of kindness, put yourself out there. And the universe is going to reward you. You're going to get more comfortable. And then you're going to start realizing that doing acts of kindness is a selfish act as well. It makes you feel better than it usually makes them feel.
I love it. Mr. Wright.
I'm just excited to see where this is going to go. Not only with our podcast, Ripping a Hole in the Universe, the relationship that I built with Kyle and Eric and Alex to get busted tees. I'm going to get that in your brain.
Busted, busted.
And this is just the first of many. This is a huge growth. Like we spoke last week on the podcast, this is a big struggle for me. This breaks a barrier that I've been struggling with for a number of years, for 15 years. Hurt holds you back, guys. You got to let go of that hurt. I can tell you that that's a big learning curve for me over the last few weeks. And I'm a bit of a control freak because of that. And this has been it's been tough. I've been communicating with Kyle, and with Eric and with Alex in ways that I've not ever communicated with people before, and trying to not hold everything so close to the chest, and just taking the opportunity to learn from these guys, to grow, and to be a better version of myself in the process. And then I'll be able to be a better version for my kids, for my wife, for my employees, for everybody that I interact with. And that's really, for me, where this is at today. I'm just grateful.
Yeah. Great, Shem. Kyle, thank you so much for being out here, brother. So incredibly grateful. And I mean, again, most of all, thank you for your support, brother. You have 1,000 or 1 million different podcasts to listen to, and you probably listen to some others, and that's great too. But just really, really appreciate your support. And, we live vicariously through social media, or I do through you. So it's fun to watch you grow, and I'll hear stories. I want you to come back. Brent wants you to come back. So maybe, 10, 15 other weeks from now, you can come back and kind of give us an update of what's going on with what tees? Busted tees.
That's right.
Always happy to be back, and appreciate you guys, and definitely grateful for what you're doing.
All right, guys. So, guys, we're going to get the heck out of here. Again, as you know, I didn't really mention at the beginning of the show, which I wanted to, is we are on all podcast channels now. As I said, we took a big step. You'll see more of that on the social media. So if you listen to Amazon Music, look us up, Old Guys Still Rock. Spotify, Old Guys Still Rock. Apple Podcast, Old Guys Still Rock. And YouTube is where you've always been on there. But we are on those channels. There's more out there as well.
iHeartRadio now.
iHeartRadio. So we're getting the message out there. We still need your help. Whatever source that you're listening to listen to our podcast, please, please, please hit the subscribe button. Please, please, please hit the notification button on any one of those. So when we get a new podcast out, that you're notified right away. Most of all, I think the bigger of all those asks are, leave us a comment. You guys are doing really good on this lately. Leave us a comment on either one of those channels, especially through YouTube or Spotify. Tell us what your struggles are and how we can help, or leave us a comment and that we can respond to, which Brent and I did last week through YouTube. So that's it for me, man. Just again, incredibly grateful for all of our followers or subscribers, the people that comment even outside of the realm of social media. Continue to do so. Share the freaking show. Share the freaking show. Share the freaking show. And but until we see each other, guys, next week, stay safe, and most of all, God bless, guys. Take care. All right, guys. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you guys. Have a great, great day. Thank you, Kyle. Have fun.
Thanks, guys.
Cash checks and break necks.
Amen.
Bye.